Hello, this is Aaron Gabriel from Cornell Cooperative Extension. In this video, I would like to show you how to use a spreadsheet to compare bale storage costs. It was developed by Brian Holmes from the University of Wisconsin, and Brian is now retired. So it's important to include your costs for storing dry hay because part of it is not only the cost of the infrastructure to store it, but also the loss in dry matter depending on the type of storage you use. In this spreadsheet, we start with the yellow cells are where we enter our information, and we start with a little bit of information about the hay. First of all, the climate that you're in, its value, and the bale size, length, and bale diameter. So you put that information in, and then it starts asking you questions in these yellow cells here about the type of storage that you want to compare. And in these purple cells or reddish cells on the right, it talks about dry matter losses for each of those types of storages. And those are estimates, so you have to make your own judgment and put in a dry matter loss based on the type of storage that you want to compare. These estimates on the right in this table, in the purple, I think may be a little bit conservative for some of the outside on the ground storage. So after you talk about the storage losses based on the storage type, you're going to go to building inputs. So if you're going to be comparing a building, in these yellow cells, you're going to describe the building, its length, its width, its height, and that's going to calculate the square feet. And then for the unit capacity, the square feet per ton of hay, you need to enter that. And some of that may be a little bit difficult to figure out. So in this extra worksheet down here on the bottom bar, it says extra info. In that worksheet, I put in a couple tables that might help you figure out some of these other pieces of information. So here's a little table about barn sizing. Here's a little graph about storage losses based on bale diameter. Here's some information about building space, pounds of hay per cubic foot, and that can help you figure out your square feet per tons of hay, and some other information. So with that, we can figure out our unit capacity, square feet per tons of hay. It's going to calculate the capacity of that building, and then the unit cost per square foot for the building. And with that, you're going to have to do your own homework and figure out what your local costs are. This is 2020, and I talked to a local contractor here in the Hudson Valley, and his estimate for a 3-sided pole shed, 14-foot height with no improved floor or anything, to be $20 to $25 per square foot. So with that, so then it calculates your total building cost, and the next section we have storage pad inputs. So depending on what kind of pad you want to design, here we have the pyramid bale height. So if we have 3 tiers of bales, 3 on the bottom, 2 in the middle tier, and 1 at the top, we're going to have 6 bales per section, per face of our pyramid. So with the information you have already entered, it is going to calculate your pad size, the width, length, and area. Macadam is just the example used here, but you can make any type of pad you want. It can be gravel or stone or cement, asphalt. You put in the cost per square foot for the type of pad you're building, and then it'll give you your capital cost here in cell F46. And then in your bale storage, you may have labor, for covering with a tarp. So in the yellow cell here, F49, you're going to put in your dollars per person per hour. This gives you some figures, typical figures for the time it takes to cover a pile of hay with a tarp. It has your tarp width and area for the hay that you're going to be storing, the tons of hay that it's already calculated out, and your tarp cost. So you're going to put in that cost depending on what type and how expensive your tarp is. If you're using pallets, it also calculates in the cost of using pallets as far as labor, placing and removing pallets. So that's all in there. And then if you're using a tractor to move pallets and all that, you put that figure in here in F65. It's good to put in an interest rate so that you know the value of your money and the cost of your money. And then in this next section, it tells you your capital cost of the different types of storage that you're comparing. In the summary tables, it compares 6 months of storage to 12 months of storage, the difference being the amount of dry matter loss, at the value of hay that you entered. So here we have $150 per ton at 6 months and 12 months of storage. And so in the green column, it gives you your total annual cost of storage. This is the column for 6 months, and it compares on the ground, on a crushed rock pad, on a pad with pallets, on a pad with tarp, and outside with the pad with pallets and tarp compared to a building. In table 3 and 4, it just changes the value of your dollars per ton, and the same with tables 5 and 6. And then at the very bottom, it has some nice charts that you can compare your different structures with. So, you know, to work with a spreadsheet, sometimes it just takes time to look at it and figure out what's what and to get used to how the person has set it up. But this is a very important part of your forage expenses, what it costs you for the infrastructure to store the forage, and also what the dry matter losses are, because that's a very real expense. Okay, well, I hope this is helpful. Thank you.